Arthur represents one of Eric Adams's closest aides. You also count the mayor as a friend, so we'll disclose that. But I do want to, and I should say this aide is a witness in the investigations around him. But this is Eric Adams very clearly taking a page out of Donald Trump's book, maybe borrowing. He's kind of taking some of the shine from Donald Trump and trying to use it for his own purposes. Is the point to get a pardon at the end of the day?
Well, he's actually asked the question in that news conference, and he said, I've been saying this for years now. Here's as Eric's position. Initially, I think he felt bad for a lot of these migrants, especially my office is 1 block away from Ground Zero, the Roosevelt Hotel. There's a lot of women there with little kids, and he felt really bad for them. But as they kept coming and kept coming and kept coming, and he wasn't getting any help from the federal government, like zilch. Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and obviously the White House, he was getting minimal help. And finally he realized, okay, it's one thing to be nice. It's one thing now you're overwhelming my city. And then he started pushing back. I can't take him anymore. Now we got to get him out. Then you got migrants starting to beat up cops in Times Square. Then you got migrants committing like real crimes against the citizens of the city of New York. And he's saying, no, that's not going to happen.
Not to diminish those issues, but
he's been saying that for a long time.
But I think the real question here is not so much about immigration, but about whether this turn has been toward Trump for a very specific purpose. He's being prosecuted by the Southern District of New York, and that prosecutor actually has already resigned. Trump is going to be in a position to potentially help him out in more ways than one.
It's an easy narrative to say, well, the prosecutors that came after the President of the United States are also coming after me in a similar witch hunt. Now, to be clear, President Trump was not prosecuted by the Southern District of New York, the federal prosecutors. He was prosecuted by the Manhattan DA's office.
He was investigated by the Southern District of New York.
Yes.
He was investigated, and then they passed on it because they thought it was a garbage case, and then the Manhattan DA's office picked up on it.
Granted. Continue.
President Trump was not prosecuted by the Manhattan DA's office.
Yes, he was. By the
U.S. Attorney's office, pardon me.
Yes. Go ahead.
Mayor Adams is being investigated by the federal prosecutors. He will have a chance to have his day in court. The allegations are troubling, to say the least, but it's an easy narrative for him to be able to say that they targeted President Trump and they targeted me. Now, can we get in his head and say that he's trying to curry favor for a pardon? Who knows? But I do think it's an easy narrative to try to yoke himself to the president.
I wouldn't poo-poo this illegal immigration issue. I think people are very upset about it.
I'm not doing that. Just to be clear, I'm not doing that. I was just saying that the issue for Eric Adams that is very important is his legal fate. That's
but his most serious governing issue is that there are roughly 760,000 illegal immigrants living in New York City, and almost 60,000 of them have criminal charges or are convicted criminals. If I were the mayor of New York City, whether I had my own personal political problems or not, I would be desperate to work with the President of the United States to clean up what's going on. Earlier this year, there was a police report that 3/4 of the people being arrested in Midtown for violent crimes and attacks on the street were illegal immigrants. This is a local governance problem. My assumption is, I don't live here, I'm here a lot, that the people of New York City are hopping mad about it. And whether Eric Adams is using this to get political favor with Trump, I don't know. But my God, you're the mayor. Somebody needs to do something.
I think there's two different issues. But I mean, you're conflating a policy issue with the law enforcement one, right? And I think it's entirely a valid point to say that even in a blue city, immigration is a valid. I worked at ICE for 5 years. This is something
I know.
Oh, you know very well, and so I can tell you all about this. And sort of this question of partnership between blue cities and the federal government is a very complicated one. That does not change the fact that he's been charged with very serious crimes and suddenly seems to be yoking.
No, but it's not suddenly. That's the difference. He was elected as the law and order mayor. He was, 5 candidates. He was the law and order guy. So he's being consistent with being the law and order mayor. So he's not saying something.
I would
think he is being consistent.
Hold on, everyone. Let me let Lee get a last word in.
No, that's fine. I would just say, I think there's a reason. I think the question we're asking here is he yoking himself to Trump for a reason? And I think he is, and you can tell because he's using the anti-left language. He's talking about, come at me, cancel me, this kind of thing, which is what we say to people on the left. So he is definitely currying favor with the president by using this kind of language, because we can't pretend being indicted for a crime is somehow cancel culture, right? We can't pretend that if you have actually done witness tampering or bribery or destroying evidence or all these things that he's allegedly accused of, that is somehow a left attack on you. And he's using the language that Trump likes to use about wokeness and cancel culture and this kind of thing to curry favor, because Eric Adams is looking out for Eric Adams. And I understand
that's how
that,
he's always spoken.
but
You know
he
what?
needs a pardon and he's kissing the
that's
ring.
the-
Stop
how
and-
he's
he's the
always
stop
gotta
and
go.
frisk mayor, though.
We
I mean,
gotta go.
that's who he is,
Guys,
right?
hang on. We do have to go. I just want to note that Donald Trump has listened, and he also thinks that Eric Adams is being prosecuted like he is